authentically peculiar, authentically peculiar, authentically peculiar.
Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. I have a treat for you all today. You all get to meet Batman to my Robin, my ace coon boom in therapy, my brother from another mother, my back, my bone, all of that in therapy. I introduce to some, bring to remembrance to others, Mr. Harry Scott Gordon. What's up, bro? Welcome to the podcast.
First of all, stop all that lying.
I ain't even started lying yet. I'm gonna throw the lines in when I do your intro. You know what I mean?
Man, but sis, it's crazy. It's crazy, our relationship. I was just reflecting on that before times like, and I remember as we were interning and we said, yo, we're gonna change the face of therapy and how it's administered to our people.
Yes.
And for to see that to both of us, and first of all, I'm just so proud of you.
Oh,
I am
man,
so
thank you.
proud of your work. And I mean, I knew from the first day I met you, you was a boss bitch. You was getting ready to do it. And not that overbearing, dominant way, just getting business to work the way you care for your clients. And I saw that from you as a master's level intern. It was just impressive to me. So this is an honor for me. This is an honor and privilege. This is, you know, you don't get this really. And we cultivated a true friendship. And I don't throw that word around loosely at all. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just honored to be here and humbled to be here. And let's get to it.
Let's get it. Man, thank you for those words. You always hold me down, but let me introduce to the people that don't yet know you. This before you is Mr. Harry Scott Gordon. Everybody that knows him calls him Scott, but he got to play that Harry thing every now and then, because that's that legit name. But Scott,
my
the
government.
government name, the one that is all above all things. Yeah. But I met Scott in 2015 as we were interning in our grad program, headed towards full licensing, graduating the whole 9 yards. And he's right. We immediately said that we was changing what counseling looks like. Scott is the owner of a safe space here in Atlanta. When I tell you, if you haven't checked out a lot of the interviews on the news about what he's doing and how he's changing the path of mental health for men, you need to. He is married, the father of beautiful children, productive children, doing their thing, finding their own pathway. He hails from New York, but he's a Southern boy now. His counseling style is client-centered. He's focused on building trust and rapport with each of his clients. The thing I love the most about Scott in his delivery in therapy is he doesn't try to make it fit in a book or a box. We so past that because that's not what therapy is for the African American community. He utilizes multiple modalities. So again, not stuck in that box, eclectic, client-centered, REBT. He used to wear my head out about REBT, which is rational emotive behavior therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, and motivational interview. As a husband, as a father, and a newly indoctrinated grandfather, Scott has worked with many populations. He has been a school teacher. He mentors young people. He works with populations to help with emotional instability, anger management, drug and alcohol issues, stress, anxiety, depression, parenting issues, career concerns. Whew, let me take a deep breath on this one. Racial trauma and self-esteem issues. Scott and his clients work together to formulate treatment goals and plans. Now, I want y'all to hear this part because I'm gonna need y'all to get ready to spend some money with this brother. He has 2 books: The Spring of My Life, Chronicles of a Woman Addict, and The Summer of My Life, Chronicles of a Woman Addict 2. 2. I need y'all to run out to Amazon, go ahead and blow it up, grab those books. Those chronicles are a series of peers and relationships addiction. We'll talk about that a little bit in this toxic masculinity process, and unhealthy relationships as they evolve, and the abuse that comes with them. So without further ado, without elongating this intro, my brother, Harry Scott Gordon, Master Scott, the Batman to my Robin. Again, welcome aboard Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Woo-hoo.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You know, and how much do I owe you for saying all of that?
Bruh, you know, we go back way. It ain't even about no payment between us. This is what we do. This is how we move.
Yeah,
This is how we shake.
I know.
You
I
know, when
know.
I
And
reached out to, go ahead. I'm sorry.
one of the things that I'd like to say is I love your title, Authentically Peculiar, because that's what we are. We are, if we're not nothing, one thing that Marcia and I have talked from day one, we're gonna keep it a buck. We're gonna keep it 100%. We ain't gonna BS. And that's both of our styles. You know, we have different, like she talked about RBT and CBT and motivational, you know, interviewing, all of those paradigms in theoretical orientations. But the thing that I think separates both of us is that we're authentic. You're going to get our true selves. You're going to get Atlanta, you know, Georgia native, you know what I'm saying, Marcia, and you're going to get all this Bronx.
Well,
Now,
hold
I don't
on,
know
bro.
if
I
that's
ain't a
Southern thing.
native of Georgia. Let's get that
Oh,
correction.
yeah, I forgot.
You
I
can't
forgot. I
knock
did.
Memphis out of there. You can't take
You're
Cali
right.
out of there.
You can't. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying,
You're right. You're right. You're right.
because you know the
Yeah,
hood in me
you
came
know,
from the Memphis side.
I got you. I got you. But I mean, I just love what you're doing in the space and giving everybody an ear. One of the things that we had spoken about and is actually my mission statement for a safe space is that we're going to change the stigma of mental health in our community, in the African American community. And I am just so proud of the work that you do with the 5-minute meditations that you have in the morning, and just being so real and so positive, and your clients are definitely, you know, definitely a blessing. And we've collaborated. She sends clients to me, I send clients to her. So this is just not a business partnership. This is a brother and sisterhood, like for real, like our children, our grandchildren, you know. So, you know, and just she's so damn dope. You know what I'm saying? There's very few people that I consider like really dope that we could just sit down, and we might not have spoken in months, but it goes back to like we've talked yesterday. So
Right.
I just want to congratulate you on all that you're doing and that you will continue to do, Marcia.
I appreciate that, bro. I really do. You know, tonight we're going to hit a heavy topic about toxic masculinity. And we go rounds, you know, because our goal is to really reduce all of the stigmas and things that's associated in the Black community. One, that demeans the character of Black men. It demeans the character of Black women. Our goal is to make sure that we're that voice of balance, authentic. That means that you may get cussed out every now and then in therapy. I'm just saying, it's just what it is. You know, we're going to bring our professional game with us, but when we talk about subjects like toxic masculinity, tell me this, bro. What got you started even considering that conversation?
Well, it was from a good friend of mine. Actually, he works with me, a brother named Lamar, and he hooked me up with a a film because he was a basketball coach. I coach basketball, and we were just talking about young men being able to express or not being able to express emotions, right? So he hooked me up to this, and it's a must see. It's called The Mask You Live In, and that
Mm.
talked about and it broke down the origins of toxic masculinity. And I just, from the first time I viewed it, I was like, yeah, oh, that's why we fucked up the way we fucked up is
Mhm.
because, we're not able to correctly express how we feel.
Absolutely.
One of the things when we were interning on Road to Recovery, we used to have anger management classes, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I remember it was funny because Marcia was the only person I'm talking about because we were very, very, very protective of our groups. Our groups were our people. She was the only person, if I wasn't going to be there or if I was going to be late or if I needed someone to sit in with me, she was the only person that I trusted that was going to give that passion.
Yeah.
Because this game, you can have all the credentials and everything. All this thing is about passion, the
Mhm.
passion to do the work. And when this
Mhm.
young sister came with, I was the, kind of lead intern, but I saw that she had that passion. But what I found out during those classes is that the only acceptable emotion that men of color could express, but men generally, but specifically men of color, was anger. I
Mhm.
was like,
Mhm.
why?
Mhm.
Why are we so angry? Why is angry the only thing that is acceptable? And then I saw the documentary, The Mask You Live In, and
Mhm.
explained all those questions for me, Marcia.
One of the things that I often talk about when I work with male clients is the robbing of their voices at a young
Mm.
age. In the Black
Mhm.
community, we tell our boys that they can't cry if something hurts, that they can't express themselves if things are uncomfortable for them. They got to suck it up. Well, you can't tell a boy to suck it up and then expect him as a man to learn how to communicate how he's feeling. It just doesn't work that way. And so breaking that stigma of masculinity and that hidden mask of anger is often associated with the fact I never had a voice. What's your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. There's a cartoon that I show in session. It's about a mother. It is a mother. You can tell she's younger in the first scene with her young son and another
Mm-hmm.
boy. I guess it depicts that he was being bullied.
Right.
And the mother says, "Shut up, don't cry, man up. Man up." That is one of
Mm-hmm.
the most
Hated statements for me.
I can't even get the most toxic
Mm-hmm.
statements that you can tell a boy, man up. He's
I wouldn't
five,
let
he's
people
four
tell my
years old.
son that. I would not let people
Yeah,
tell my son that.
yeah, man up. Because what that means is, first of all, not anything that's feminine. And I'm gonna talk about masculine, feminine energy because I have an apology for you. I have an apology for you, and you will get it on live. You will get it on your podcast today. Don't be shaking your little head. But you know, when so it shows that slide. He's crying, suck up those tears. Basically, that's what mom is telling him.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second scene, he's older, he's probably late teens, early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see she's noticeably older, and she's like, and he's upset, and she said, tell me, talk to me, speak to me, tell me how you feel. And I don't know how. You
Mm-hmm.
robbed that. You took, as you said, your voice because that wasn't manly. That
Right.
wasn't, that wasn't what we do. We
Mm-hmm.
we have to figure it out, suck it up,
Mm-hmm.
hold it in, and
Mm-hmm.
then we don't understand the incarceration rate. We don't understand the drug rate. All of these things, because if you have an emotion, you're going to have a counter to your emotion, whether
Yes.
positive or negative.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And you said something. You said, Mama said, suck it up. The number of Black boys that was forced into early roles of men by saying, suck it up. The number of Black boys who had to become the head of the household, mama's man, because there was no man in the house, caused voices to be robbed. It sent mixed messages to these young boys. They couldn't be kids. They had to be a man of the house. How do you help young men or men, period, to see where that cycle began for their life?
Well, I go back to the origins, you know, and RABT, it's more present, centered, and focused, but sometimes we have to go back. That's why you said in the eclectic sense, I have to go back to some motivational interviewing and understanding and letting understand from when did you hear this toxicity that you can't express yourself, and what was that case? I always give the analogy of, you have a child on the playground, right? 4-year-old child on the playground. They run up to you with a skinned knee. What do you tell them? And 95% of the men, when I was in group, there's like, well, is it a boy or is it a girl? I said, why does that matter? They said, because I would tell my son to suck it up, but I would console my little daughter, because the depiction, if he doesn't suck it up, then he is going to be considered soft or weak.
Right.
So a lot of times mothers and fathers do this unbeknownst, because it's survival. Where we grow up, if you show any vulnerability, I grew up in the Bronx, New York, you can go around and say, you know what, I feel a little, a little lonely. Oh, you would be prey to the predators out there in the street. Right. Because they would look to you. So it starts very, very early in our conditioning, and it's a product of a lot of different things. Dr. Joy DeGruy in post-traumatic slave syndrome talked about how we overcompensate for our lack of men's presence in the household, and we raise our children in fear rather than love. Fear is the number one thing that guards a lot of our parenting, because we're scared to expose us to the world that we live in.
Exactly. And that fear is the driver. But part of that fear is a mother not even having her own voice, because society has said you're horrible for being a single parent. Her voice being snatched, and out of fear of, I can't let my kid become a statistic. So now I can't show my kid emotion, because if I show my kid emotion, then they're going to think that I'm weak. And if they think that I'm weak, then the street's going to think that he's weak, and I can't do that. And so we have this cycle going. When you're talking to these men who, one, have to trust a safe space and be vulnerable to even want to have that conversation about their fear, their emotions, the things that happen to them. How do you actually bridge that for them? How do you bring that together where they can talk to you about it?
One of the things that I do, and I use a lot of TED Talks in therapy. I love to watch different clips or videos and analyze what's going on, because I might not present it as well as that person, and I don't have an ego to say, oh, I got to say it. No, let's dissect it. So in one thing that I do is, I understand when you talk about fear specifically, I tell them where fear comes from. We talk about the amygdala, and that fear is hardwired. It is more of an instinct than an emotion, right? And we can't go through life without fear, right? You have to have fear because it's our protective mechanism. So when we normalize fear, or we understand that it's acceptable that you can't get rid of it, then that reduces the shame, right? Because a lot of times when we feel scared, we feel ashamed because we're not supposed to. But you see, fear is not a female emotion. Fear is a human emotion, right? So
Period.
it's human, and everybody's going to feel fear.
Mm-hmm.
So we take away the shame from it and say, oh yeah, okay, I felt like that. It's just because what fear does, it is such a primitive instinct that
Mm-hmm.
we can't really tell. Our bodies, our amygdalas can't tell the difference between a dangerous situation and just something that is uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
So we're going to act the same way,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're in a drug den at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're not supposed to do, or taking a licensure exam, your alert system is going to go off the same.
Mm-hmm.
What we must do is understand and be able to decipher which is which. This is just something that's going to take me out of my comfort zone, but
Mm-hmm.
can grow me. Once I allow men to be able to feel and open up and give them permission
Yes.
in a safe space, because one of the things that we must do, and I work with men all the time, well, just clients all the time, is that people ask me what I do. And I say, I help people fall in love with themselves.
Boom.
And that's so powerful,
Yes.
because we think we love ourselves, but we don't. We really don't,
But society taught us that we
that's a
shouldn't.
big thing. Exactly.
Society told us that, and I tell people that's the big lie. Society told us that we shouldn't love ourselves first, that we should, if we did, we were selfish. We should not care about us first. If we do, we're selfish, because that's that whole mix up about narcissism that I got to do another teaching on that one. But because people just abusing it. But if you don't love yourself, and I love Maya Angelou's quote that says, you can teach people how to love you by what you do and love, how you love yourself. If I don't love me, how am I going to expect you to love me? I don't even know me well enough to love me.
Exactly. So I'm not going to go as far as Miss Angelou. I'm not that well versed or well read. I'm gonna go to the TV show The Chi, and they have a therapist on there, and she said something so profound.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about relationships, and she said you cannot define a relationship with others until you define the relationship with yourself.
That part.
That's self-love, baby.
In my first sessions, I always assign the homework for my clients to write a love letter to themselves. And the
you know I'll steal that. You know I'll steal that. I'm a therapeutic a thief. I will steal some great things in a minute. Hey, but I will give you
can do that, because I'm telling you, when you do that, first of all, most of my clients, especially when they refer people to me, they hate it. They tell them, that first homework assignment to write a love letter to yourself, go ahead and start crying now. Most people struggle with writing a love letter to themselves because they want to include everybody else in the love letter. I tear it up and we start over. The love letter has nothing to do with your mama, sister, cousin, auntie, uncle, children now, but everything to do with you. If you can't identify your love to yourself, you're just walking around in a circle. And so when we think about masculine toxicity, and we're not going to even just, condition it or keep our conversation about the masculine side of it, but toxicity, period. A lot of those toxic behaviors come because people don't know themselves. They know what others told them about themselves. And then they try to figure out a way to live up to it. For example, if a little boy comes to you, I don't know if you remember that kid that I had at Road to Recovery. He was in a gang. And he was coming to me and he was just talking gang mess. And I'm sitting there saying, bruh, like, don't let this intellect and this look fool you. Like, you're not ready to have that conversation with me. And by the time we broke it down and I talked to him about gang life and self-love and things of that nature, his whole life turned around. He's like, I got to get out. It's like, yo, man, you don't give your life away looking for something you ain't gave to yourself. So when you're talking to young people about turning around how they treat themselves, what are some things that you say to them to recognize as signs that they have some toxicity going on?
Well, one of the first things, and I love your love letter to yourself, but the very first activity that I do with all of my clients is that I do a timed exercise, and they have to list in 5 minutes 10 things that they love about themselves. Ooh. 10 things that they love about themselves, but no physical characteristics, right?
Oh, I like that.
So they go through that. They go through that. I get that. We go over it. And then the second part is the 10 things that they hate. I don't like to use the hate, but don't like about themselves. And why I do it timed is because our brains function, whatever's in the front of our frontal lobe, or it's something that we talk about or think about ourselves all the time, is going to come out. So if that's in the forefront of your thinking process, your positivity, right? It shows that you're thinking positive thoughts, because I want them to see, how do they see themselves? Because if they don't see themselves positively, then how can the world see them positively? Absolutely. And it's great feedback, because they'll say these things, and some of them can't get past 2 or 3 things that they love about themselves.
And they'll start doing
what
this.
Then I say is that, but what you don't understand is, how can someone else love you if you don't love yourself, right? Or how can you ask, when we talk about relationships, how can you ask for what you want if you don't know what you want? So that's one of the first things that I do, is that how do you see yourself? Not how you see society. What is that inner voice? You know, we can get to Freud about the parent, the child, and all of those things, but how do you see yourself?
Yes.
And then we start on the concept of values, because I remember in Road to Recovery, one of our first classes was values clarification. And I'm like, what is this
mess we doing?
Talk about values, but it is such a powerful tool, because our values are who we are. I did a whole Sunday talk last week about my Sunday inspirational talk about, do you know who you are? Because oftentimes we don't. We say our job titles. 90% of the people, if I ask you who you are, you're going to tell me, I'm a therapist, I'm a cop, I'm a lawyer. That's not who you are, it's what you do.
I'm a parent, I'm a child.
And then you go to your titles. But who you are the values that you hold. Like my top 3 values that I have after doing a values assessment is peace, spirituality, and family. So when somebody asks me who I am, I'm a peace-driven, God-fearing family man. That's who I am to my core. Not what I do. That's who I am. So those processes of just understanding who you are allows you to fall in love with yourself. Then when you fall in love with yourself authentically, love yourself, unconditionally love yourself, then we got to go through forgiveness, right? We don't even want to touch the forgiveness from trauma. I know we're getting deep right now.
Well, no, again, that's perfect.
Those are the building blocks of restoration. Because
let me ask you a question real quick. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I cut you off.
Because I just want, before the question, you can come in with anxiety, depression, unresolved trauma. All of it goes to is that, what is your perception of yourself? Because when you have a solid foundational perception of yourself, then what other people say doesn't affect you that much. And then I give them the vaccine. I got to give them the vaccine. It's the fucking vaccine. I give them the fucking vaccine, because sometimes you got to tell people, fuck you. I don't care. Your perception does not change me.
Right.
Unless I want it to. Right. Unless it's something valid. I say, ooh, I might be able to work that, but I'm not going to be so tethered to your opinion of me that it puts me in a depressive state or an anxious state. But please ask your question.
So my question is this, there's a school of thought with some therapists that forgiveness isn't needed. And I always counter with forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you getting yourself off the same hook. I had someone to ask, and you can weigh in on this, the question, well, why shouldn't I be angry at them? Or why should I forgive them? I said, why should you allow them to keep staying in your life? When you don't forgive, when you don't let go, you make them a center focus in your life. And I thought you didn't want to deal with them. I thought you didn't want to be bothered. But as long as you're holding on to that anger and that unforgiveness, man, they sit in front and center in your life. What you think about that?
First of all, get out my damn head. I'm laughing because I'm like, we are so attuned in our approach with people, because the same thing, forgiveness is not for you. I mean, not for them, it's for you. And you use the word chained or tied. I use the word tethered. If you don't practice forgiveness, you're only gonna go too far, then that tether is gonna snap you back to that time of life. And I'm the cussing counselor. And I tell them all the time, man, these people don't get to win, because every time you're depressed, every time you can't function in life, these motherfuckers are continuing to win, and they don't care nothing about, they don't even probably know that you're upset. So why are you going to waste your happiness, your joy? Life is too short to be on somebody who does that other thing. But the thing about it that I've learned, why people can't have true forgiveness, because there's one ingredient that is so difficult.
What's that?
Because true forgiveness needs compassion. And it's compassion for your wrongdoer. Oh, hell no, I can't because when you have compassion, you put yourself in their shoes. I use one of the things when we were in our master's program. I don't want to give that place any kudos, but
no,
we were
not as one.
But it brought us together, so it is that. But when we were in our master's program, one of the first things that they told us is to take a population that you would have trouble with counseling and trying to counsel them. You remember that? Things like that. And everybody goes into pedophiles. Everybody said, but they wouldn't let us do pedophiles because everybody would say, I am not giving therapy, giving assistance. But one of the things that I love from where we graduated is they said, and I got that, it says, you have to treat the diagnosis, not the person. You have to treat what's wrong with the person, right? So when you talk about that, when you show compassion, 95% of people who molest people were molested, right? Is that vicious cycle. And it's not an excuse, it's an understanding and a reason. And there's a difference, right? There's a difference to understand that, well, he might not or she might not have been able to, and I can understand. Or if I give the analogy, if somebody robbed me, Marcia, right? And I go in front of the judge, and the judge asked me, Mr. Gordon, do you want to say something to your perpetrators? It's two young men. And I asked them why, because intent means a lot to me. Intent means the why you did something. So one young man gets in front of the judge and said, I was just trying to be hard. I'm being a gang, and and that was my initiation. So that fool just got to get robbed. Then the other young man might say, you know what, Your Honor, I'm a father of a young child, and I got laid off, and things were just tight. I couldn't find a job, and Mr. Gordon was there. It was an opportunity. It was a wrong opportunity, but I couldn't take the screams and the cries of my young baby being hungry. So I tried to do what I have. I'm going to have more compassion for that person because I understand why you did it. Not condoning, because forgiveness is not condoning, you don't ever have to talk to the person again in your life
Exactly.
when you have true forgiveness, but you have to have compassion, understand, yeah, you know what? I can see. I
Mhm,
can see. And
mhm,
it's funny because my Sunday inspiration that's coming out in a little while
mhm.
talks about the difference between perception and perspective because they're not the same.
That's gonna
But
be
we won't
good.
go into that. We
Yeah,
ain't
yeah,
gonna go
yeah.
into that. Right?
Because we could talk all day on so many of various topics. When we think about toxic masculinity, what are some character traits that will help to identify someone that demonstrates or living through toxic traits?
Well, I mean, there's no uniform, and it can be displayed in a lot of time. But
Mhm,
when you don't feel that you can be heard, or that you first of all you're emotionless a lot of times, right?
mhm,
So you show no emotion, or you're very matter of fact about
mhm,
situations, right? That's
mhm,
one thing that you are. You keep a lot inside, you internalize a lot of things. So
mhm,
because of that, because you're not able to express your emotions in a healthy way,
mhm,
we tend to go to different vices. So drug addiction, drug
mhm,
abuse,
mhm.
alcoholism, right? Battering, because
Yes.
I don't know how to express it, so now I'm going to be violent there.
Mhm, mhm,
Promiscuity, right? So
mhm,
I'm not going to get to, I'm not going to lock myself down emotionally with one person. So I sleep around and things
mhm,
like that.
mhm,
So you have these negative coping mechanisms
mhm,
because
mhm,
you have to release some of that angst that you have that you can't express verbally, or you can't cry, or you can't do all of those things. So those are the things that, and they manifest in depression, they
mhm, mhm,
manifest in anxiety, right?
mhm,
Again, drug addiction and drug abuse, spousal abuse,
mhm. They're
children,
controlling.
and
Mhm,
yes,
mhm, mhm.
yes, yes. So that's the way I've seen it manifest in my practice.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit everything on the head. That suppressed emotions, that face of toughness, that controlling, that aggressive behavior, that seeking other stages of pleasure, whether it's sex, drugs, food, whatever. All of those
Mhm.
things. What would be some things that if you were talking to someone that demonstrated signs of toxic masculinity? What would be one of the first
Mhm.
things that you would say to them about reducing the impact of those traits?
One of the things is to understand first and foremost how detrimental toxic masculinity is, and
Yeah.
just really defining it. And when we look at it, you can see it just robs us of our ability to bond,
Mm-hmm.
to be fathers, to be husbands.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're focusing on the toxicity of men, but women, we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
first of all, um and then I understand, and this is my olive branch to say I was wrong. So y'all, 7 8
Transparency.
years ago, no, it wasn't even that, it was like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Marcia came to me and she was like, you know what? I was telling them about the problems that I was having in my relationship that ended up with my wife, right? And she was like, yo, bro, you got more feminine energy than your wife. I'm like, fuck, are you crazy? You calling me soft? What do you mean? Like, I ain't no punk and things like that. I mean, I went off. Marcia, nah, bro. I probably didn't talk to her for a week. I was
It was a
upset.
whole
Let me
week.
explain something, because I hold my masculinity like I'm a man's man. But and then a little earlier this year, something that I quoted, I said that there are no male or female emotions. Well, this beautiful young lady, got on me. Did you say that, bro? Because we talk about toxic and energy. I said, no, I didn't say energy. So with that, I said, you know what? I am going to do some more research.
Mhm.
So I went and got this.
Nice.
I went and got this, and I got another book called, where is it? Where is it? I'm plugging other people's books. Oh, but
That's
Battle
cool
Cry.
because we'll put that out
Battle
there. Oh,
Cry.
that battle cry is
Yeah.
awesome.
Battle Cry. Yeah, that's awesome. Jason did a great job on that. And then I
Mhm.
started talking about, and something popped in my head. I said, you know what? The reason why me and my wife don't get along is because my masculine energy is triggered by her masculine energy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. And they was like, what does that mean? So I said, I know within 30 seconds, whether we're gonna have a good time by the way she comes at me, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I give the funny scenario of this. If we wake up in the morning, Marcia,
Mhm.
and she looks over me, loving gaze with her beautiful self, because my wife is a beautiful woman.
She
And she
is.
tells me, baby, I need you to kiss my ass. And I'll probably be like, okay, you sure? And because now that softness is, even though the words might be harsh, but the softness of the delivery. Where if
Mhm.
she turned around at that same instant and told me, yo, motherfucker, I love you. I'm like, hey, don't be, because now that masculine energy is
Mhm.
coming in. It's abrasive to my masculine energy,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so I started doing more research of it. And this is not a comprehensive list of masculine and female traits, but I started working with myself and then my clients because I said, well, am I logical, confident, focused, strong, stable, clear, assertive, and goal driven?
Mhm.
Yes, I'm all of those things. And those are all masculine because it has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with the Eastern call it yin and yang,
Mhm.
just a
Mhm.
balance. That we have to have this balance. But
Mhm.
then, and I couldn't stand Marcia when I found this out, they said, are you intuitive? Absolutely. Are you generous? Absolutely. Are you nurturing? And that's the one that fucked me up. Like, man, I am this. And I'm creative and I'm collaborative and I'm caring and I'm receptive and I'm great. Oh, shit. I got as much feminine energy as I have masculine energy. And that was the revelation to me,
Mhm.
right? That
Mhm.
they balance each other out
Mhm.
instead of fighting my feminine energy, which most men do.
Yes.
They fight it, right? They fight it. They don't want to be nurturing, but sometimes you are.
Mhm.
And that's where I really believe, sis, you came to me with that I had because I am a nurturing man. I am a
Yes.
nurturing man. Period. I am my children, my if when I love my sister right here,
Mhm.
y'all have no understanding. The Bronx will come out of me. Y'all
Mhm.
fuck with my sister if y'all want to. Like,
Mhm.
and she knows, like there's no people who rock with me understand that I don't play
Mhm.
about the people that I love. I'm
Mhm.
nurturing.
Mhm.
So, but I had to have the balance because I can't be strong without being nurturing or caring because that's where toxicity comes from.
Exactly.
So now we look at it and what has happened to us in our community. So now Black women, because, and there's a lot of reasons why, but because society has a plan to separate us
Mhm.
and not put us together, Black women had to stay up, start having more masculine tendencies, right?
Forced
My
masculine tendencies.
sister, my sister right there, we've had conversation. I work with her children. I love her children like they're mine. I had the pleasure of working with her son in the past, and to hear the type of mother that she is because she had to wear both hats, right? She had to be that strong, stable clarity of masculinity, but then she had to come with the softness.
Mhm.
She had to come with that nurturing, that creative, all of those things. But there's not too many women who are able to do that, or
To
too many
balance.
men. And
Mhm.
that's where the conversation needs to be. You need to be, as the word says, you need to be equally yoked with both divine masculinity, which is more tangible,
Mhm.
and divine femininity, which is more spiritual.
Mhm. Mhm. And you know, and that's so funny that you brought up Jeremy, uh, because as I was thinking about it, and everything in life is balance. The off balance is what puts us in these toxic traits. Uh, I remember an incident where my son signed my name on a report card that he knows, and the school knew that if he didn't have a certain grade, he was not playing football. Well, he was their star wide receiver. Get to the field. Yo, Miss Blaine, you know, I can't believe you let Jeremy play with those grades. What grades? Let me see. You signed his report card. Go get that. The coach's wife was like, man, you gonna get him killed out here. Now, mind you, kids go to school, country club, bunch of other than black people there, and they didn't know which way I was gonna blow. Called him to the fence. I said, I need 3 touchdowns, and then I'm caving your chest in after this game. He got the 3 touchdowns, but the coach had all the linebackers and stuff, these big old country boys surrounding him like I couldn't get through. I just started snatching them. That was that masculine energy. And I said to him what my mother said to me: if you'll lie to me, you'll steal from me. If you'll steal from me, you'll try to kill me. So let me go ahead and cave your chest in out here in front of all these folks to send the message that this is not what we're doing. But then at the same time, I had to remind him, you're better than that. You're better than lying on a piece of paper. You're stronger than that. You're more gifted than that. So it's always a balance. And that's where we miss it. We miss it when men and women make babies and then they start hating each other and they can't raise these kids together. You don't have to stay with the person to successfully co-parent. What you have to do is respect what you all bring into the space. One of the things, and Scott knows, I cannot stand a woman who will stand in a public venue and demean a man. That irks me. It will get a response out of me. I will actually check you on the spot, pretty much double dog dare you to say something back to me. Because one thing I will not allow is a man, a black man in my presence to be publicly shamed. Now, if I gotta cuss you out in the car and it's me and you're gonna get cussed out in the car. And then I'm mindful about that too, because I know for me, I had to be a single mother, so I had to pull both of those energies. So when I am with a man that all he comes with is masculinity, we gonna bump heads. Cause bruh, my balls may be a little larger as yours. Cause I've had to go through some things to have to pull that masculinity. So I, like you said, I had to learn to appreciate my own feminine energy. It was beyond the looks, it was beyond the hair, the makeup, the clothes, and all of that. I had to give myself permission to be vulnerable and let my feminine energy come forward, recognizing I didn't need to control every situation. I didn't need to dominate and to prove who I was as a woman. And that is where I think the balance has to come from. When we're talking with men and women, we have to let them know it's okay with the right person to be vulnerable. It's okay with the right person to express that hurt. that pain. It's okay to even forgive the people in your past for not showing you that it was all right to have a voice. It's okay.
It's okay. One thing, and you brought up a good point about that vulnerability. One of the reasons I became a therapist, I got a couple, but one of my commercial reasons is that I'm a big Soprano fan, and Tony Soprano was my guy. Like Tony Soprano was the man's man and all of that, my boss. But he went to therapy. I was like, wow, that's unique. And one episode, his wife, he was trying because he was a pathological cheater and all of that. And she asked him, well, he asked her, what did you need from me? And she said emotional availability. He was like, oh, geez, can you ask for something else? Because again, that goes back to the toxic masculinity. What does that mean? And what I tell my couples is this: you must be able, see, most couples, they have no problems or issues being physically butt naked. Damn. Right. All right, let's get. But I said, what is going to make it last is the ability to be emotionally butt naked. Now, are you able? Butt naked. Yeah, I know.
I love it. Crass, no, I love it. I love it.
But because you have to be able to be vulnerable, and that V word.
Uh-oh. Looks like we got a little break in the internet, but it'll come back. He'll come back to me in just a second. I like the frozen frame of him looking like he just ready to snap on it.
Two, testing 1, 2.
I got you. I can hear you. You back.
Okay.
You was stuck like this, bro. You was about to get in it. It was about to get deep. And I'm not even going to cut that out of the video because I'm actually going to enhance that because people need to understand the power to where we come from when we're having these real conversations about life-changing moments. But you were talking about the couples. You was talking about emotionally butt nakedness. So go ahead.
And that's what it takes, man, because I was talking about vulnerability, and that's probably where we cut off. It's like that is one of the scariest words for men, is to be vulnerable, because now we have to admit our chinks in our armor. We have to admit that we don't have it all together. We have to admit that, we might not know the directions to somewhere, and we might need to ask for help, right? Because now, but I'm going to go back on you, sisters. You got to provide a safe space for us to be vulnerable, so that, and not use our vulnerabilities or our speech against us. TD Jakes, I got something on my Instagram page that I play over and over for couples, to understanding that we have emotions, but sometimes we lock up our emotions because when we share them with you, you'll come back. Oh, yeah, that's why you was peeing in bed when you're 5 and you were scared. So you use that against us. You use our vulnerability against us. So what do? We withdraw. We shut down.
Go into that cave. I call that the cave escape. For men, no one wants to be reminded about their moments of vulnerability or areas of improvement. And like Scott, I want to speak to my sisters out there. Be mindful of the energy that you're putting into the man that's in your life. Be mindful, and I'm talking about your sons, I'm talking about your siblings, I'm talking about your significant others. We are created to birth life. When we don't understand the importance of the umbilical connection in life, we can literally snatch the oxygen out of the functionality of a male. I
Absolutely.
employ you to work through your own issues so that when you do get with that person, when you are raising that male child, that you have understood the process of giving life. When you can do that, and when men can understand the importance of receiving life and not see it as a weakness, not see it as something to combat against, then we have a balanced situation. That is
Absolutely.
what, in my opinion, needs to happen so that we can reduce the impact of toxicity, whether masculine or feminine. We have to be able to understand how we were created, the why behind our creation, and what we need to do next so that we can heal, which is what my brother is out there doing in them streets. If y'all, I'm gonna give him a second. First of all, I want to say thank you because this was a really powerful, powerful conversation. I think it's going to change a lot of lives. But I want to take a moment and let you shout out a safe space and all the ways that people can find you on social media.
Okay. Well, again, and I'm looking like, damn, an hour's up, and
Like you're
when
my
my
longest
sister,
interview. I just need you to
yeah,
know that you're my your longest
like when
interview.
my sister, and the thing about it, y'all, we could talk for another, we could talk for another hour, 2, 3 hours, because we aren't there. This is not our job. This is our life. This is our calling, and this is our purpose. And when you live a purpose-filled life, when you are walking in your divine purpose, it's not work to us. We work hard hours. My sister be up before the crack of dawn, working after the, things like that. And she know how I get down. It's a thing, but people ask me, do you get burned out, Marcia? And one of the things I tell them, I was like, not really, because being able to help someone in the slightest way gives me so much joy, so much pride. So if you, first of all, I would say go to on Instagram, go to H. Scott Gordon on Instagram, and check out my page, because it's a lot about, I do a lot of therapy, but I do a lot of who I am, as a grandfather, as a father, as a counselor, as a friend, as a brother, as a son. I have all of those hats, and that all goes into how I perform therapy. Then you can go to my website, www.asafespacetobe.com, and check me out. I'm getting ready to start some groups where men can, for a small donation, come back and talk about different things. The 4 topics that we're going to get into, we're going to talk about toxic masculinity, of course. Then we're going to talk about anger, control, and management, or more emotions, because I hate to just separate anger. We need to be able to control and regulate and understand the importance of all our emotions. Then we talk about Black fatherhood. And one of the things that you says is that husband or boyfriend is not synonymous with dad. And you can be, and you have to be. There's a real a story on my Instagram page, talks about how 90% of fatherless households, and all the statistics, if the man is not present to give that divine masculinity and not give it to our women, because our women are by nature nurturers. They can be lionesses, don't get it twisted, but they're nurturers, right? So those are the 2 platforms. I am just honored. Like I said before, I am very honored, because it's one thing to dream and to say things. And I think I said this to you, sis, maybe a year ago. It's like, yo, we actually doing this shit. We actually doing the work, because the African American is the most needed for or needs therapy, but is the last person because they don't have safe spaces, one of all, and then it's relatability.
Yeah.
They don't see people that talk like them, that dress like them, that feel like them. And if you don't understand this sister right here, she's the real deal, y'all, because she talks it like she walks it, or she walks it like she talks it. I don't know which one it is, but vice versa. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Sis, and it's so easy because this is how we talk every day. This is not every day because we got lives, but when we get together, this is what
This
we
what we
talk
do.
about.
This is
This is
what
what we do. And anytime I'm stuck on something, hey, let me bounce this off of you. The same thing, because we're not in competition, we're in collaboration. And that's all relationships. We are in collaboration. We have to work together, not in competition. I want her to win because winning, I share everything she tried. I try to like and things like that because no, I can't. I'm working a full schedule. Can I be at all her events? No. Can she be at all my events? No. But we support each other through brotherly and sisterly love. So I want to thank you.
You're so welcome. I can't wait. This is the first season of Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. So you'll be guest appearing on multiple seasons throughout this, entire process. Thank you for always saying yes. Thank you for always being here. Yo, go out to a safe space to be.com, grab the books, get connected with those group sessions. I'm telling you, it is going to change your life. With everything else going on in this day and age, you got to remember it's so important to continue living authentically. Thanks for joining us on Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. Peace and love, good energy, and we'll see you on the next podcast.